How's it going, everybody? Larry here from Farmstead Fitness. I just got home from a day of service calls, and it's been cold today, but we got her done. So my son is about 2 weeks old now, and it's crazy how much I've already learned in 2 weeks of having two children. It's been a big transition, at least for me mentally, and just trying to transition into fatherhood of a son and fatherhood of multiple children. You wouldn't think it'd be a crazy change, but it has been. And something that I'm trying to improve upon with this baby from the last one is being more present as a father and trying to become super dad. Now, what does that mean necessarily? Now, when I say super dad, I'm not necessarily meaning as in being the richest, providing the most opportunity, doing everything perfect. What I mean by super dad is I really want to try to do my best to seem impervious to anything to my wife and children. I've been trying to do a lot better of getting up in the middle of the night and helping with the baby, which it's getting easier and easier as the older he gets. Doing my best to just hold him more, to be there more, to discipline and be present for my daughter more, who's 2 years old now. And in being super dad, like I said, just trying to be impervious to fatigue and not let it show to your kids. When you come home from work, leaving work at the door, putting your family and your children first, because fatherhood and being a husband and being the leader of a family is all about selflessness. And that's something I'm not perfect at, but I'm trying to work at and get better at every day. Putting my wife and my children first. That means sometimes being the last to eat dinner because you need to hold the baby and you need to help feed feed the oldest one. That means staying up the latest and getting up the earliest so you can get a workout in. Making sure that the pellet stove is plenty full so my kids stay warm. Making sure that I take every opportunity to take jobs so I can pay the bills. While also making sure that I make myself as available as possible. And just doing my best to be impervious to getting run down. And that's not easy. It takes a lot of coffee and a lot of fortitude to get through some of those days where you just want to say, leave me alone, I'm exhausted. And when you're a dad, like I said, you can't David Goggins this thing to an extent because you have to be mindful of others. You can't just be totally selfless and just be heartless in your toughness. You have to be compassionate because it's not exactly easy to be sensitive to your children being upset when you're fatigued. And it takes a different mindset to push through either a workout or a long day when you're by yourself versus pushing through a long day and trying to have the mental capacity of dealing with small children. Because it can get really, really frustrating sometimes, but you got to realize they're kids, especially with my daughter, because she'll refuse to take naps and she'll do things she's not supposed to and she'll kick and scream, but she's 2 years old. I mean, I'm just now becoming the person that I want to be, and I'm turning 30 next month, which is not very old, but she's got 20-something years of development before she's really going to have a super strong character. And I think there's a lot of dads that let the daily grind get to them, and they forget to be a whole, complete person. They forget that as a dad, you're supposed to be a provider, a protector, a teacher, but you also have to have that nurturing side. That, when your child falls over and they fall down and they hurt themselves, being able to pick them up and provide with them comfort. The last thing you want to do is when you get home from work is to walk past your children and sit on the couch and just zone out because the day was so hard. No, you have to leave work at the door. You have to be ready to take your work boots off and immediately pick your daughter up and start playing with her. You have to be willing to immediately say, hey, can I help with dishes? What can I do to help? And it's taxing. And like I said, I'm not perfect at this. I'm trying to get better. But I think part of the battle is having the self-realization that those are character flaws that you have. I think there's too many men that are oblivious to their own faults and they will not take blame for anything, or they will not pick up the slack where it's needed. Learning to be super dad is a trial by fire, and the only way that you can get through it is just taking it one step at a time. Because I want to try to get through this childhood, or my kids' childhoods, with making as few mistakes as possible. And that's impossible. It's an impossible standard, but it's an amazing, incredible goal to shoot for, because it forces you to be, like I said, self-critical. It forces you to take a look at yourself and see, where can I do better? There's so many men that refuse to do better. They are complacent. They go with the flow. They go through the motions, and they're not willing to fix or change things. And it's a giant responsibility being a father, and a giant responsibility in being a husband, because there's temptations and pitfalls in both. There's a lot of selflessness that you have to have, especially when it comes to marriage. When you're a single dude, especially a single dude with no moral Christian principles, it's so easy to just let your manly impulses go, to succumb to temptation, to just go here and there and be drifting through the wind. And nothing teaches you responsibility like marriage and parenthood, because all of a sudden life's not about you. It's about your family, and you need to put them first. Now, you do have to make time for yourself, or you go crazy. That's why this is nice. And most of the time that I get for myself is driving to and from work, and sometimes it's all you need is 15-20 minutes of solitude in the truck, and it's a nice recharge. You don't have to have a weekend out with the boys. You don't have to do all this crazy stuff. Just really 15-20 minutes is a giant help. So dads, we can do better. We need to strive to be Superman in the eyes of our wives and of our children. And our kryptonite can come in many different forms, but we need to do our best to be impervious to it. So I just want to make a quick truck video. There's not a whole lot going on the farm right now. It is freezing cold, so we're kind of just in a holding pattern right now. Once it warms up next week, I definitely want to try to do some outside chores and outside projects and film more content. So guys, just keep on trucking and just be aware of your own shortcomings, your own mistakes, and try to do your best every day to correct them. Because if you're the same person today that you were 5 years ago, you're not cutting it. You got to grow every day. And the excuse of just, well, it's just how it is, it's not good enough. It's not near good enough. So we can do better. So have a good day, everybody.